Hello students, welcome to iLearn TOP session on Indian polity in regard to the discussion for the mock test number 20, that is on constitutional framework and system of government. Let us discuss the questions that I believe all of you must have solved, which solved the 25 questions, okay? And I understand that there are two sessions, and we'll discuss the first one, followed by the second one would also come in a next video. Okay. All right. So let us start with the questions. Okay. Now, let's go to the first one. In the context of Indian parliamentary procedure, the question hour implies. Now, this is a question. Before we discuss the question, let me take you to the slides where we discussed in the last session on TOP, where we discussed about the parliament and the areas that we must focus. Okay, in the TOP slides, now if you look into this, you know that we had discussed on parliament, right? And we also know how important this topic is, the number of questions that had come in this particular area, and how should we cover this, right? Thus we discussed about the powers. You must focus on powers, focus on public finance, focus on procedures, parliamentary committees, and tools. Okay, so this is a topic that we are referring to, that is tools. Under tools, what we discuss is those things that is used in the parliament during the passage of a bill or in a whole session. Okay, that includes tools like question hour, 0 hour, and also motions and resolutions. Motions, for example, the adjournment motion, privilege motion, censure motion, no confidence motion. Okay, so these are, other than the main responsibility of passage of bills, these tools are used mainly as a measure of checks and balance in the whole system, where the parliamentarians can ask questions or can question the government in power. So these are ways in which parliament controls the executive. Okay, so what is the answer here? In the context of Indian parliament, question hour implies parliamentary sovereignty. No, it is not about parliamentary sovereignty. Checks and balances. So it's a kind of checks and balance, because here they try to put a check on the government's power, because India is a parliamentary democracy where parliament keeps a control of the executive. Okay. Yes. So let's. So that is an easy question. Let's move to the second one. Which among the following bills requires the prior consent of president before its introduction? Okay, so the question is about the prior consent of president. Okay, so president's consent is an important factor. Now we know that there are a lot of bills in which presidential consent is taken. There are a lot of bills in which president consent is not required. Okay, so what are those bills? I would want you to make a table and write down about all the bills and the procedure involved. Okay, you can make a bill, make a table involving the bills such as ordinary bill, private members bill, then money bill, financial bill 1 and 2, constitutional amendment bill. Okay, make a list of all this bill and any other bill that is mentioned in the constitution specifically. Okay, and then on the right side, put a column and say that whether president's consent is required or where can be initiated. Is joint session possible? Okay, and what happens to the bill once the houses have passed? Okay, so make a column and try to put a table and try to study that. Okay, that will make your learning much easier. However, in this, let us see through this. Okay, a bill for the purpose of abolition of any tax. Now, what is a bill which deals with tax? Definitely, it is money bill. So, money bill, does it require the presidential consent? Yes, it does require. A bill for the purpose of altering the boundaries of the state, does it require presidential consent? We know that whenever a state boundary is being altered, or a state capital's state name is being changed, or a part of it is being taken away. Okay, the parliament is the one which does this. Okay, and before the parliament does this, president has to initiate it, and then president gives it to the state. So there is a mechanism going on. Okay, so president's consent is required. What about a bill amending the fundamental rights? You must know that a bill amending the fundamental right is a bill amending the constitution, because fundamental right is mentioned in the constitution. Okay, now in this case, what would happen? In this case, what happens is a bill amending the constitution, do we require a presidential assent or consent over there? Okay, the consent is definitely not required. Okay, where can it be passed? Where can it be introduced? It can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Okay, which house has more power in this? In case of constitutional amendment, both the houses has equal power. Can we have joint session here? No, we cannot have a joint session in the constitutional amendment bill. And should president sign it? Yes. Once it is coming to the president, after the houses have passed, it must be signed by the president. Okay, so the answer is 1 and 2, which makes it answer should be C. Okay, answer is C. All right, let's move on to the next question. In the context of Indian parliamentary democracy, collective responsibility of executive implies. Okay, now this is specifically about term and the meaning of the term. Okay, this term has been used, and we just want to know the meaning of the term. Okay, now again, I told you when we discuss about the executive, there are certain things that you should take into consideration. One being that of the concept associated with the government, and second being the constitutional part, and contemporary and connected areas. So in the systems of the government, this conceptual part is something that we should learn very well. Okay, and this conceptual part requires a knowledge about the cabinet form of parliament, cabinet form or parliamentary form of government. Okay, so we should know what is a cabinet form of government or what is a parliamentary form of government. We should also know another term, that is collective responsibility. Okay, very important. So once you know the concept, you should be able to answer this. Let's look into the question. In the context of Indian parliament democracy, collective responsibility implies the Council of Ministers are answerable to President of India. Is that so? Do you think the Council of Ministers is answerable to the President of India? You have learned in the executive directly that Council of Ministers is answerable to the Lok Sabha. Okay, not all the houses. It is answerable only to Lok Sabha. Okay, which is one of the legislature. Okay, so yes, this is a wrong statement. So eliminate one. What do you get? So you can eliminate this particular thing. You can also eliminate this particular thing. Okay, what do you get? Okay, Council Ministers are accountable to the legislature. Is that right? Definitely. Okay, Council Ministers are accountable. I told you in the first one also here. It's a checks and balance system that we have in our country, which means that Parliament or the legislature can control the Council of Ministers. So it means in India specifically Lok Sabha, yes. Okay, Lok Sabha can actually it is in Lok Sabha that they are accountable. Lok Sabha is a legislature, definitely that comes up. Okay. Third one, resignation of Prime Minister automatically dissolves the Council of Ministers. Is that true? Yes, definitely. We know that once Prime Minister resigns, then the whole team has to resign. Okay. Why should the whole team resign? Because collective responsibility, the term itself literally means that collective responsibility is nothing but an application of the phrase that is the Council of Ministers swim together and sing together. Okay, where they are coming together, they can work as a single unit. That is, collectively they work. And if Prime Minister has to go, which means the entire Council of Ministers also have to go with him. Okay, so 2 and 3 goes as the right one. So answer should be C. Okay, so the third question answer is C. All right, come to the next one. Which of the following features of the Indian Constitution were borrowed from Government of India Act of 1935? Now this is also overlapping with modern Indian history. So under that, this is a very factual question. Okay, once you know the Government of India Act 1935, then you will definitely be able to answer it in an easy and better way. Okay, and what is the answer over here? Answer is Office of Governor and also emergency provisions. Okay, so those two things were taken from this particular act, and that is why there are also other things from the 1935 Act which you should be knowing. One of that is which are the other things that comes under that? There is federal scheme that is coming under it. Okay, and also the judiciary comes under it, the PSC comes under it. Okay, and also emergency. Okay, so please take note of all these things which comes under the Government of India Act 1935. Okay, so let's move on. The next question, that is the fifth question, with reference to parliamentary privileges, a very important area. Okay, consider the following statements. Okay, this is also mentioned in your textbook, Lakshmikant. You can follow that textbook. Please follow it because there have been a lot of questions associated with privilege motion. Okay, I think I mentioned in the slides also about it. Let me just take it. Okay, look at it. There is a mention about privilege motion, and that was in news. And please, I want you to go through that definitely without any fee. Okay. Yeah. So we know that parliamentary privilege in India is mentioned in the Constitution, just in two articles, one for the state legislature and one for the parliamentary parliament. And in both cases, it is said that it will go as it existed earlier. Okay, which means that the way how it was practiced earlier in India, the same model will be followed. And how do we follow? We followed actually the British model. British model, how Britishers followed it by convention and practices, which simply means that it is not codified. What is meant by codified? Codified means that we have not written it down. We have not enacted a legislation for parliamentary privileges, which is true. We don't have a Parliamentary Privileges Act or anything like that. Okay, so that is what we are. Let's look into the statements. It is clearly codified under the Constitution, which is absolutely wrong. Okay, there is no codification of parliamentary privileges. Okay, definitely it is a wrong statement. Secondly, it can be invoked to restrict the fundamental right to freedom of expression of general public. What do you think about it? Okay, now this is a correct statement. Why? Because see, here we are dealing with privileges, which is uncodified, which means that it is not clearly mentioned anywhere what is the power of it. Okay, and privilege means complete, right? What is a right for us? A right, we know the fundamental right. Okay, what is a right for us? A right means that it can have restrictions. It is limited in power. Okay, so when a right has no limitations, then it becomes a privilege. So when there is a privilege, the parliament can definitely do actions which can actually, in a way, restrict the right of people's freedom of expression. Okay, such as publication. Yeah, they can stop. They can make a law saying that this one publication of the House proceedings is not allowed. Okay, so that is how they can restrict the fundamental rights. Okay, so answer is for the fifth one, the answer would be B. Okay, it can restrict. Okay, next one is sixth. Which among the following provisions in the Constitution is or are enforceable by parliamentary legislation? Now, when we speak about parliamentary legislation and enforceability, don't confuse about the terms that is mentioned in when we study about DPSP. Okay, in DPSP we must have learned that DPSPs are not enforceable, okay, by the court of law. Okay, but their reference is by the court. Here, what is the question? Question is whether the parliament can enforce it. Now, how does parliament enforce it? Parliament can enforce it by way of a legislation, right? So parliament can, the question is simple. The question is, can the parliament come up with a law regarding these things? Okay, let us look at it. Fundamental duties. Can a parliament come up with a law on fundamental duties? Do we have any such law? I'm sure you know about the 86th constitutional amendment, right? It spoke about right to education. Now, under that, and fundamental duty also was added. Now, that fundamental duty which was added, isn't that reflected through a legislation, that is Right to Education Act, correct? So yes, we can enforce it. Fundamental rights. Now, this is a very easy thing. Fundamental rights can definitely be enforced by the parliament. There is article dealing with untouchability. Now, we have the Protection of Civil Rights Act. Okay. Now, there is articles associated with Article 21A, Right to Education. Now, we have Right to Education Act. Okay. So, there are a lot of acts which was passed on the basis of this particular right. DPSP. Can we have a law? Can we make a law? Can the parliament make a law on this particular thing, that is DPSP? Yes, there are innumerable examples. What examples we have? Let us take the good example of Factories Act. Okay, there's a mention about the socialist principles and directive principles refers to the provisions and the conditions that is to be maintained in a factory. With respect to women, there is a reference to the maternity benefits. So we have a Maternity Benefit Act. Okay. Recently, there was a constitutional amendment speaking about the economically weaker sections. Weaker sections of the society is also mentioned in DPSP. So we see that all the three are correct. That is why answer will be 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So if you have made a mistake, try to understand what they have asked. They asked about the parliamentary legislation. Okay, whether parliament can make a law. That is what we understand by enforceability. Come to the seventh question. Now consider the following statements regarding legislative power of state legislature. Now state legislature is a very important area. Now I already told you, when you deal with state legislatures, please do not forget to learn about the state legislative council. Okay, I think in the slides in which we discussed the TOP, I think I mentioned about it. See here. Okay, give special importance to the legislative council. Okay, you have to study legislative council, the procedure of passage of legislation. Again, it is there in the textbook. Please go back and try to learn it. Okay, if you are not able to learn it in one go, try to reread it and try to make sure that that is well thorough in your mind. Because recently there was a development in Andhra Pradesh regarding this particular legislative council, where it was sought to be abolished. See here. Okay, AP in cabinet note to abolish legislative council. So it was in news. All right. So what is the question? A money bill cannot be discussed in legislative council. Do you think so? A money bill, definitely it can be discussed in a legislative council. There's nothing to stop this one. Okay, definitely the power of legislative council is minimal in this context, but that does not stop the money bill from being discussed. Okay, all right. Seventh one. Next one. So that is a wrong statement. Okay, the constitution does not provide for joint sitting of both the houses to resolve the disagreement over a bill. Does constitution provide for joint sitting in state legislature? That is a question. Definitely no. The constitution does not provide for joint sitting of state legislature. There is no option, because state assembly has a superior power over the as compared to the state legislative councils. I repeat, the state assembly has superior powers as compared to the state legislative council, and therefore a situation of joint sitting is unlikely to arise. And for that reason, the constitution does not provide. Okay, so what is the answer? Answer is, first is wrong, it can be discussed. Second is true, answer should be box. Okay, let's move on to the eighth question. In the context of Indian political system, which among the following is correct regarding the president's rule? Okay, now president's rule, in this also we discussed the importance of president's rule for this year. So I think the question has come, it's very important to study this. Okay, let us see here. Executive news, the president's rule has been in news for a lot of times. In Maharashtra, it was imposed. Okay, there have been discussions about it, and for that reason, one must study it. Okay, yes. Let's look at the options. Which is correct? That is being asked. The inability of a state government to prove its majority in the floor of the House results in automatic application of president's rule. Look at the word automatic. Have you anywhere studied about automatically president's rule coming just because a government failed to have majority? No, there is nothing about in that context. Okay, so that is a wrong statement. Okay, can we come to an answer? Okay, we can eliminate 1 and 3. We can eliminate B also. Okay, let's see what 2 is. President can dismiss the state council of ministers when president's rule is imposed in a state, which is right. President can definitely dismiss it. Okay, what about the legislature? Is the legislature fully dissolved? No, legislature is put under suspension. Okay, because there are Supreme Court decisions saying that the president's rule will be under judicial review, and for that reason, it is only put under suspension. Because if the president's rule is arbitrarily made, then the legislature can come back to power. Okay, so the second statement, can dismiss council of ministers, is correct. So that means the answer should be there here, right? So it should be C. Okay, what is third? There is no provision for judicial review with respect to president's rule. Now that is absolutely wrong. I just mentioned about it. Judicial review is mentioned. SR Bommai case is very relevant. It dealt with Article 356 and the power of judiciary to deal with the president's rule. Okay, all right. Let's move on. Which among the following fundamental duty? Now I already mentioned about this, and I told you when we study about duties, you have to take note of the amendments to it also, right? So let us look into the slides where we discussed about it. Let's see. Okay, I told you when you study duties, you have to go by the conceptual ones as well as constitutional. Conceptual meaning, what is conceptual? Conceptual meaning, what is the purpose? What is fundamental duties? Can it be enforced? All those things. Okay. Constitutional means the entire list of fundamental duties must be thorough. If there is any amendment to it, even that should be known, and what is the content should be known. So these are the areas where you should focus. Amendments to the duties, enforceability, list, and common terms. Okay, related terms in preamble, duties, and DPSP. That will make your preparation very confident about duties. So what is the question? Okay, so we have 86th Amendment. What is 86th Amendment? When was it passed? 2002. It was passed in 2002. It provided for child education. Correct. So there is this word. You don't have to even read the whole option. Just look into this because it is ABCD, which means that the ABCD will be different. Okay. Yeah, this is about culture. This is about scientific temper. This is about common brotherhood. So definitely the answer is A. Come to the 10th question. The 10th question, what is it about? 10th question is about which of the following is not correct. Okay. So not, please underline that not whenever you see such kind of negatively worded questions, please underline so that it gets your attention repeatedly in that question. Okay. So it is about the amendment. Okay, it is speaking about the amendment. Okay, so you should be aware about amendment. What did we study about amendment? I think in amendment we studied that there should be an approach for amendment, right? What is the approach? Approach is we should go by the procedure and also the important amendments. These are things you should take care when you deal with amendments. Let us look into that. Yeah. See, this is the way how we study, right? Amendment, you should know the procedure, what is mentioned, and the key amendments. Now, key amendments, these are the key amendments I told you should be studying these things, okay? And 86 is already mentioned. 86 you will study in Article 21A, you will study it in DPSP, you will study it in duties, okay? So that is not separately mentioned, but all other articles have to be at least known which year they come, what is the relevance, and what is the main feature about it. Okay, especially 99 to 104th onwards, you should be very thorough about that. Okay, all right. Now let's move on. So what is the question? The question is in the context which is not right. Okay, an amendment to the constitution can only be initiated by introduction of a bill in the parliament. So where else can we introduce it? Can we introduce it in the state legislature? Do we require president's consent for that? No. Introduction can be in a parliament by way of bill. So first is correct, so not our answer. Okay. The power of parliament, look at would be the power of parliament to amend the constitution is limited by doctrine, that is basic structure doctrine. Is that right? Yes. The power is limited by basic structure doctrine. What does it say? It says that we can amend the constitution provided the basic structure of the whole constitution remains untouched. And when did this come up? In 1973, in which case Keshavananda Bharati case. So that is also right. A constitutional amendment bill does not require the prior permission of the President of India, which is correct, right? President's permission is not required. So answer should be D, that is a constitutional amendment is outside the purview of judicial review. No, constitutional amendment is definitely within the purview. 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is about judicial appointment, NJC, was declared as unconstitutional by the court, which means it is within the purview. So answer is dog. Okay. All right. Let's move on to 11th. What is the 11th question? 11th question, which of the following matters, the power and status of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha are equal? Okay. Again, important. I told you already that you have to study the powers of Rajya Sabha specifically, because that having given a lot of extra powers, should know that, and there can be questions about comparison. See, the comparison of both the houses also can come up. Okay, so you should compare. You compare the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. You should know the powers of each, and also the way how the procedure is developed in the houses. Okay, let's see the questions. In which of the following matters the power are equal now? Okay, Impeachment of president. Do we have separate powers for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? We did not study of anything like that, right? So Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha have same power. Removal of Council of Ministers. Which house can we remove a Council of Ministers from? Okay, the ministers are removed through which motion? No confidence motion. Okay, where can it be introduced, or where is it having a role? It has a role in Lok Sabha. And in Rajya Sabha, you cannot introduce no confidence motion. So yes, that's the point here. There is no equality. Passage of constitutional amendment bills, we already discussed. In constitutional amendment bills, powers are equal. That's why I told you make a table about bills. Okay, right, which house has more power. Okay, passage of money bills, where passage of money bills, we see that in passage of money bills, Lok Sabha has more power over there. Okay, yeah. So when we analyze all the four, we can come to a conclusion that power is equal in impeachment of president as well as in the case of passage of constitution bill, right? In these cases, power is equal. In here, power is not equal, and in fourth also, power is not equal. So answer should be 1 and 3, that is A. All right. Next, let us move to the 12th question. Okay. In 12th question, in the context of Indian political system, the presence of Rajya Sabha can be best explained. What is the role of Rajya Sabha in our Indian parliament? What does it represent? Does it represent the people, or does it represent the state? It represents the state. And how do we define a state, the role of state in Indian democracy? The role of states is by virtue of the principles of federalism, right? Where center and state have a established relationship in the constitution. Okay, so this means that federalism should be the answer. So the presence of Rajya Sabha can be best explained as an exercise in federalism. Okay, other are just misleading options. Legislative delegation, no. Rajya Sabha is not for delegation. Okay, Rajya Sabha has almost equal powers with respect to Lok Sabha also. Okay, dual government, no, it is not because there is two government. It is because there is a state. Okay, dual government does not means that yes, there are two governments. Okay, state also has government, but that is not what we are. What is the purpose of Rajya Sabha? Rajya Sabha is to represent that entity called as state. Okay, that unit, that is what is focused. That unit is a part of federalism. Parliamentary system is an exercise in parliamentary system. Presence this exercise, but I think that is a misleading statement. Okay, it does not connect well with the whole question. Okay, because definitely we have a very strong answer over here. Okay, let's move on. Which among the following directives comes under the purview of Part 4 of the Constitution? Okay, now this is a very important one, area where UPSC has a lot of interest. So I think I should take you to the area where we discussed about it. Okay, how do we study DPSP? We study it in two ways, conceptually and constitutionally. What is conceptual? Conceptual means we study about the importance of DPSP. Where is it mentioned? Why is it existing? Is it enforceable? Constitutionally, you should know the articles. You should know what article deals with which kind of DPSP. Just a broad outline is very important for you to know. Okay, and I also told you what you should study. These are the areas you should study. UCC you should study. Labor related, because there was a labor amendments. Enforceability of this particular thing should be known. Objectives should be known, and definitely all the entries. Okay. Welfare of backward class, very important, because there was an amendment regarding economically weaker sections. Okay, so let's look into the question. Which among the following directives come outside the purview of outside? So this is the key point. Okay, outside the purview of Part 4. Prohibition of cow slaughter. So cow slaughter, is it mentioned? Yes, right? For scientific reasons, we should ensure that there is a prohibition of cow slaughter. So this is within the purview. Okay. Development of Hindi language. Now, Hindi language, is there a particular focus on Hindi language in this one? Is that? No. Okay, there is no mention of the Hindi language as such in the DPSP. So this goes as, now this is outside the purview. Okay. Monuments, now this is a very general thing, right? How can monuments, protecting monuments, be outside DPSP? Okay. Now this is a very controversial area. Which one? The Hindi language. So we know that there is no possibility that DPSP will have a reference to Hindi language. Monuments is definitely, and see, just think logically, monuments, protecting monuments is something of a national interest. Okay, and those monuments of national importance, we have legislations, so DPSP it is part. So what is the answer here? 13th would be which is outside the purview. 2 is outside the purview, so that would be A. Okay, A is the answer. All right. Come on, let's look into the next one, 14th question. In 14th question, which of the following is not included? Now, something that we already told, okay, which is you should be very clear about the list of directive principles. Okay, this is very particular about international relations. And international relations, which area are we? There's one article which deals with international relation. I believe it is 51. Okay, now in this, let us look at all the options. To promote honorable relationship between nations, which is mentioned in it. Disarmament, it is not mentioned. Be very clear, disarmament as a word is not mentioned in the DPSP. Hence, that is something that you should take note of. Okay, and that lies the answer, because you have 4 options. Respect for international law, definitely. Okay, and next one is to encourage settlement of international dispute by arbitration. Okay, this is mentioned in your textbook. Okay, see, these are all very clearly mentioned. You just have to be very thorough. Okay, even if you are in doubt, please go for repeated revisions multiple times. You should be very thorough within no time. Okay, otherwise also see among them what stands very different. Okay, India believes in peace. Okay, so when India believes in peace, there definitely D is an option that will definitely be there in a DPSP, right? And India has always stood for relationship between the nations. You study that in IR also, definitely this one. Okay, now to work for disarmament, now that there is a lot of ambiguity in that term. Okay, not very specifically about what. Okay, disarmament, we are still debating about it, whether we should actually sign so many documents related to nuclear weapons. Okay, so there remains question, and it was left open. That was the reason why we did not include that in DPSP. Okay, however, yes, respecting international law is something that India has always maintained. So you can definitely know that this is a part of DPSP also. Okay, it should be a part of it. So which is the best one to be eliminated is definitely the disarmament one. Coming to 15th question, 15th one, in the context of Indian constitution, which among the following is correct regarding legislatures, union legislature and state legislature? Now this is a very good question, because here they have asked, usually we compare between Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, we compare between legislative council and the legislative assembly, but this is a question where we are comparing between parliament and state legislature. Okay, yeah, let's look at the statement. Union legislature, not state legislature, can make extraterritorial legislation, which is right. The union legislature can make extraterritorial legislation. We know that when Vijay Mallya was outside India, India decided to confiscate his property. Okay, so he, no matter where he is, the law applies to him. Okay, the Indian laws still continue to apply to him. Okay, it goes to the extent of covering a citizen or a subject anywhere in the world. State can do that? No, state cannot do that. Okay, so union legislature can make extraterritorial legislation, state cannot. So this is a right statement. Okay, next one, union legislature and not state legislature has nominated members. Now think about it. Union legislature has nominated members. Is that true? Yes, Rajya Sabha has a lot of nominated members, right? Yeah. And state legislatures, don't they have nominated members? They also have. State legislative council have nominated members. So this is definitely a wrong statement. So you cannot go by that particular statement. And in 15th, the answer should be, hey, okay, there is one more option. Okay, you should not miss those options. Legislation, so let us see, 1 is right, 2 is wrong. Okay, so 1 is right, 2 is wrong. Okay, so there is still, you have to look at it. Legislations of state legislature, not union legislature, comes under High Court's power of judicial review. It simply means union legislatures do not come, or union laws do not come under High Court's judicial review. Is that so? Definitely not. High Court can review and can review both the state law as well as the central laws. Okay, so answer definitely is 1. Okay, 1 is the correct answer. Look into this. Okay, only this is right, this is wrong, and even this is also wrong. 3 is also wrong. Okay, let's move on. 16th, with reference to national emergency, which of the following is correct? Okay, national emergency is a very important topic again. Okay, because of course it is not in news at least, but considering the importance of emergency as a topic, yes, and there have been once or twice a question has been asked on it, so definitely we have to focus on it. Okay. So come to this. State legislature can pass laws during national emergency. So thing that you should know is state legislature dissolved or suspended during a national emergency? No, definitely not. Okay. Take up your own state. When an emergency was in power, the state had passed laws. Okay. So this is can pass laws, which is a right statement. Okay. Parliament may extend the normal tenure of legislative assembly 1 year at a time. Is that right? Yes, Parliament can extend the normal. It's a Parliament which is empowered to extend it, because it is from the center, right? That the whole thing comes up. It is emergency, so it is a Parliament which takes up a lot of actions with respect to the assemblies also. Okay, so answer here should be C. Okay, 16th. Okay. Now come to the 17th question. Okay, 17th, it is about federalism. Let us look into the question. One of the implication of federal form of government in India is that, okay, what is the implication of federal form of government? Okay, union legislature has no control over parliament legislative power of the states. Union legislature has no control. Do you think it has no control in India? Haven't you studied that Rajya Sabha has in the national interest, in Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution that's saying that it can make a law in the state field. You must have also studied that when states request, then the union legislatures can make a law if the two or more state request that in that field the parliament should make a law. There is another provision where we learned that in case of international agreements or international deals, it is the parliament which has power to make law than the state. Okay, so state need not be consulted when it comes to this particular area, that is international agreements. Example, ASEAN. ASEAN has provisions related to agriculture. Agriculture comes in state list, but center can make a law regarding ASEAN treaty. That is how we study that, we understand. So this is a wrong thing. Okay, so implication, let us look into it. Constitution divided the powers between center and state in terms of union list, state list, and concurrent. Isn't that right? Yes. In federalism in India, the most important feature is in India, the federalism, it is written down. Okay, how did we write? We divided the powers between the center, state, and the center and state into 3 lists. One is that is, and where is this list mentioned? This is mentioned in the 7th schedule. So I think this is a very easy answer. Answer is box. States are empowered to, no, definitely not. This is wrong. Okay. And the governor, who is a head governor, is not elected. It's a very easy answer. Don't bother reading all those things. If you are very sure about box, go ahead and write the, mark the correct answer. Come to 18th question. In which of the following scenario a chief minister cannot vote in the presidential election? Can a chief minister vote in the presidential election? It is not based on the chief ministership, but it is based on his position as a member in the house. Okay, so he should be a member of which house? MLA, he should be a member of the Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council. Can a chief minister be from Legislative Council? Yes, he can be. Can a Legislative Council member elect in presidential election? No. Who can elect in presidential election? That's Electoral College, which comprises of elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and Assembly. Okay, so let us see the option. He is yet to prove his majority. This is an absurd statement. Okay, it is only misleading us. There is nothing got to do with the majority. He is a member of the upper house of the legislature. Upper house. What is the upper house here meaning? It is the second house, that is the council. So answer should be box. Okay, you need not even look into this. He himself is a candidate. He is a chief minister of UT. UT, both the UTs. Okay, Puducherry or Delhi, there is only one house, which means that it is assembly. And in an assembly, they can definitely vote. Okay, and UT MPs, MLAs also can vote in the presidential election. Only condition is they should be MLA. Okay, that is it. Come to the 19th question. 19th question, it is about council. I already told you council is an important area this time. You have to focus. And for that reason, this is a very important question. Okay. The strength of the council, state legislative council, is fixed by state legislature concerned. Is it so? Who is creating the legislative council? It is a parliament. So who will fix it? The parliament will fix it. Composition of the state legislative council laid down in the constitution can be amended by the parliament. The composition of the legislative council can be laid down. Yes, right. it can be amended because Parliament is the one who creates it. So that for that reason, of course, they will be able to do the necessary changes over there. Constitution provides reservation of seats in Legislative Council. Is there reservation in Legislative Council? No. Why no? Because it is not based on the population. SC/ST reservation is based on the population and the share in the population. Because council is not based on the population, we cannot have reservation over there. Rajya Sabha represents the state. Rajya Sabha also cannot have it because they don't represent the population, they represent the state. So there also there is no reservation for SC and ST. The answer here is, I think it is 3 is wrong and 1 is also wrong. Answer should be 2. All right, so that is the answer here. Come to the 20th question. The most important implication of liberty in the society. Okay, most important implication of liberty in the society. What is the answer over here? Let's come to that previous slides that we discussed. Okay, under that, when we looked into this area, okay, I already told you that liberty has been asked 4 times, democracy has been asked twice, and how do we study preamble? How to study preamble from this perspective, right? Conceptually and constitutional. Constitutional, what does it mean? Constitutional means you should know all the content in the preamble. Very important. Conceptual means, what does conceptual mean? Conceptual means that you should know the purpose of preamble, how was it designed, why is it designed, what is the importance of all the terms mentioned in the preamble. Okay, those terms: socialist, secular, democracy, equality, fraternity, unity, integrity, justice, liberty. Okay, all these terms must be very well known. Okay, now, and these terms were in news. Okay, secular was in news in Sabarimala Ayodhya context. Sovereignty was in news. Liberty always in news. Equality very much in news. Again, unity and integrity also in news in the context of Jammu Kashmir. Okay, look at this article also where it was said that preamble reading sessions must be introduced. Okay, yeah. So if you look into all these things, let us look at the answer. Most appropriate implication of liberty. Okay, what does liberty mean? Liberty can be in a sense said to be freedom. And what does freedom mean? Absence of restraint. Correct, right? So it is complete absence of restraint. That is what we try to understand. Okay, now what is the other question? Yes, inequality, there is no linkage between them, as they are definitely related, but as a meaning or appropriate implication, no. Okay, is it an absence of privilege? No, that is not what we mean by liberty. Liberty means a sense of freedom. A sense of freedom means there should be no restraint. Only then we have liberty, right? When there is restraint, there is no liberty. Okay, yes, and absence of choice. No, that's again a very narrow one. Go for the broadest one because this is a broader principle. Liberty is a broader principle, and go for the broadest understanding. Come to 21st. 21st, with reference to fundamental rights in India, consider the following statements. Okay, fundamental rights is mentioned in part 3. Now let us look. They are the only legal rights available to citizen of India. Now, what is this legal right? Now, rights broadly, you know that rights are classified into moral rights and legal rights. Legal rights are those that we can enforce through the court of law, okay, which has a legal backing, okay. And moral rights are the ones which cannot be enforced through a court, okay, which means that you have a right to be taken care of by your parents when you are a child, okay. Your parents have a right to look after you, okay. So there is a lot of such kind of moral rights. It comes out of the morality in the society, okay. It cannot be, you cannot go to court and say that I am say I don't have a job right now, so my parents are not taking care of me. No, that is not, you cannot enforce it. Court will say you're above 18 years, you go and find your job, okay. So legal right means that which has legal backing, okay. Example, fundamental rights, does it have a legal backing? Yes, constitution is backing it. Right to property is a constitutional right, again backing it. Then there is a right to information. Right to Information Act is backing it. Right to Education Act is backing it. Okay. So then you might be confused. What is statutory right? Statutory right means those rights which is mentioned in a statute. Constitutional right means those rights mentioned in the Constitution. Fundamental rights means those rights specifically mentioned in Part 3 of the Constitution. You should have a very clear idea between and distinction between them. Now tell me, is fundamental right the only legal right? No, we have RTI, we have NG Narega, we have property rights. Okay, so that is wrong statement. They cannot be amended by the parliament. Is it so? Can't we amend the fundamental rights? We can. Wasn't Article 15 recently amended by the Parliament? It was amended. So you know what the answer is. Their application can be restricted while martial law is in force. Can their application be restricted? Yes, definitely it can be restricted. So what is the answer? Look at it. This is a wrong statement. It cannot. This is a wrong statement. Answer has to be 3 only. Okay. So 21 is C. Come to 22nd. Power to grant Indian citizenship lies with. Okay. Now this was also discussed that this area should be a prime focus. I think I mentioned it already in the slides. Yes, Citizenship Act have been mentioned here. Okay. So you should be preparing that particular thing. And it was in news. Answer is easy. That is, it lies with the Ministry of Home Affairs. 23rd question. Which among the following objective is not mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution? I already told you, preamble constitution wise, you should know which are the things that is mentioned. Let us look into the options. Equality of opportunity, is it mentioned? It is mentioned. So objective is not mentioned. Underline this. Okay. First of all, underline this particular part. Equality of opportunity, that is mentioned in the Constitution. Okay, in the preamble. Liberty of worship, liberty of faith, liberty of belief, all those are mentioned. Justice, political justice, economic justice, and what else? Justice should be political, economic, and social, right? Economic this is not mentioned, so this is the answer. Economic justice is mentioned, equality of opportunity is mentioned, equality of status is mentioned, but economic equality is not mentioned. Okay, let's move on. With reference to the office of Speaker of Lok Sabha, which among the following is correct? Now, Speaker of Lok Sabha, now I'll take you to this particular slide that is, again, we mentioned about the importance of this particular area. Yes, Speaker and Chairman. See, they have asked already 2 questions on this, so you should be very careful when you prepare this area. Okay, so please ensure that you are well prepared, and try to compare the powers of Speaker and Chairman. That is also important. Okay, all right. Now let us look into the question. Okay, the disqualification of members, which is correct. So they have asked what is correct. Disqualification of members of both the houses of parliament on the ground of defection will be decided by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Disqualification of members of both the houses of parliament on the ground of defection. Look into the option very closely. Both the houses. What is the principle that we study? In defection, the decision will be taken by the respective presiding officers. In Lok Sabha, it will be the Speaker, and in Rajya Sabha, it will be the Chairman. So what we understand is this is a wrong statement. Correct? Come to the second option, second statement. Disqualification of Speaker on the ground of defection will be decided by the President of India. Okay. First of all, Speaker does not come within the ground of defection. And second thing, Speaker can only be removed by the House. Okay. Removed by the House. So no way this is applicable. Okay. The reference to President of India definitely is a wrong mention over there. Okay, so we will not go by that particular thing. What is the answer? So this is wrong, answer should be D. Correct? Okay. Now come to the last question, 25th. Parliamentary committees, again very important area. I have been repeatedly mentioning about importance of parliamentary committees. Okay, type of committees has to be learned. Okay, a different type of committees, you should know it. There's no option other than that. Which of the following are not? Okay, now underline this particular thing. Okay, which is following are not constituted in Rajya Sabha. Business Advisory Committee is part of Rajya Sabha. Now this is something that you have to learn. What I want to do is, please go to Google and try to type this particular thing, that is Rajya Sabha parliamentary committees in one page. In another page, try to search in Google Lok Sabha parliamentary committees. There's a list that will come up. I want you to go through that, because most of the committees, especially look into committees such as privilege committee and private members bills committee. Okay, all those things. Okay, private members already here. That is a Lok Sabha. Okay, absence of members again Lok Sabha. Okay, so answer should be B over here, that is 2 and 3. Okay, so yeah, so which of the following is not included, not constituted? These two are not constituted. Both of them are constituted under 2 and 3. Both are constituted under the Lok Sabha. Okay, this is a part of Rajya Sabha. All right. So that makes up all our 25 questions. I hope you have done it well, all these areas. There is one more test coming up, and I will also discuss about the next 25 questions in the other one. Okay. So please go through the other our TOP session video also, which is also available in this particular YouTube channel. Okay, and try to utilize it maximum. Okay, the NCERT based notes will follow up. There are few additions to be made other than outside NCERT also. Okay, once that additions are being made, the NCERT based material, including some current developments areas, will be mentioned. Okay, those will be uploaded in the channel. Okay, not in this one, the Telegram, the concerned Telegram channel. Okay, so wish you all good luck, and I wish you the best. Thank you.